Just fight a little longer, my friend. It's all worth it in the end. But when you got nobody to turn to, just hold on and I'll find you. I'll find you. I'll find you. Just hold on and I'll find you.
I'm hanging on by a thread, and all I'm clinging to is prayers. And every breath is like a battle. I feel like I ain't come prepared. And death's knocking on the front door. Pain's creeping through the back. Fears crawling through the windows, waiting for them to attack. They say don't get bitter, get better. I'm working on switching them letters. But tell God I'ma need a whole lot of hope keeping it together. I'm smiling in everyone's face. I'm crying whenever they leave the room. They don't know the battle I face. They don't understand what I'm going through. The world trying to play with my soul. I'm just trying to find where to go. I'm trying to remember the way. I'm trying to get back to my home. But I can't do this on my own. That's why I'm just trusting in you. Cause I don't know where else to go. And I don't know what else to do.
Just fight a little longer, my friend. It's all worth it in the end. But when you got nobody to turn to, just hold on and I'll find you. Just fight a little longer, my friend. It's all worth it in the end. But when you got nobody to turn to, just hold on and I'll find you. I'll find you. I'll find you. Just hold on and I'll find you. I'll find you. I'll find you. Just hold on and I'll find you.
They say fear haunts you and pain hates. I say pain strengthens and fear drives faith. And I don't know all of the outcomes, don't know what happens tomorrow. But when that ocean of doubt comes, don't let me drown in my sorrow. And don't let me stay at the bottom. I feel like this hole is too deep to climb. I've been looking for a way out, but I settle for a peace of mind. Picking up the pieces of my life and hoping that I put together something right. Tell me all I got is all I need. Tell me you gon' help me stay and fight. The world tryna play with my soul. I'm just tryna find where to go. I'm tryna remember the way. I'm tryna get back to my home. But I can't do this on my own. That's why I'm just trusting in you. Cause I don't know where else to go. And I don't know what else to do.
No, don't let the fear make you feel like you can't fight this on your own. You know I'll be there for you no matter where you go. You'll never be alone. No, just fight a little longer, my friend. It's all worth it in the end. But when you got nobody to turn to, just hold on and I'll find you. Just fight a little longer, my friend. It's all worth it in the end. But when you got nobody to turn to, just hold on and I'll find you. Just fight a little longer, my friend. It's all worth it in the end. But when you got nobody to turn to, just hold on and I'll find you. I'll find you. I'll find you. Just hold on and I'll find you. I'll find you. I'll find you. Just hold on and I'll find you.
Hello everybody. I was actually kind of hesitant to do this video. Not because it was gonna be anything, fake, not because it was just like, oh, let me respond, let me hop on the train. It wasn't anything like that. The purpose of my channel is to speak about comics and speak about Christ. And something I now learned is that with the passing, God rest his soul, I pray he's with the Lord now. It seems as though he is. the passing of Chadwick Boseman had an effect on me. Chadwick Boseman played the role of Black Panther, which is a comic book hero. And he did such a wonderful job. And so I wanted to take today's video to actually respond to that. He passed away yesterday. I'm recording this as of August the 29th. He passed away August 28th. And it hit me as soon as my daughter saw it, and then my daughter told me, and then I was just like in shock. I couldn't even continue watching what me and the family were watching in that moment, not at least with my full attention, because I was so heavily impacted by it, and it blew me away. For today's video, with what I do on my channel, and with how much I value what he did, we're going to take the opportunity to, one, talk about Black Panther, and then two, talk about Chadwick Boseman. I'm not going to act like I'm some major fan of Chadwick Boseman. I'm not going to act like I've seen all of his movies. But I am going to speak from the standpoint of what I have seen of Chadwick Boseman and what I've received from him and his life and his work. So in speaking about Black Panther, one of the things I want to mention about him is he wasn't that big of a Marvel hero in his early days. He just kind of seemed like the guy that they were trying to bring on the scene to fight for black people and act for black people and like act as though, hey, we got a black hero. They had Luke Cage, and then they're wanting to add Black Panther. We, of course, New Blade came onto the scene, and it was just talking about comic books here, but we had these black heroes that were out there. But the thing about it was, when the comics weren't selling back in the day, one of the major ones that wasn't selling was Black Panther. Now, of course, in response to that, they do what they do with all comics. They revamp the story, and they try to change it up to make it more interesting, and that actually did help build up its sales, build up its popularity, and people actually had a high level of love and respect for the future of Black Panther stories. Even more so as they built the Marvel Cinematic Universe in preparation of the coming of Black Panther. I have to say they did a marvelous and wonderful job. Now, to give you guys some background on my experience with the Black Panther movie, I actually was extremely hesitant to watch the movie. Now, this is probably going to bug a lot of people who are just like, you know, let's support our black brothers and sisters. Let's support the black community. This movie was for the black community. This movie, like, encouraged us as African American people. You know, like Wakanda forever. You know, all of that energy. To me, I'm just being honest with everybody. To me, that felt fake. So I wasn't as quick to go watch the Black Panther movie because I'm not going to act like, you know, I've been down for Africa since day one. I haven't been. I'm not going to sit here and watch people do that and be like, yo, great guys, that's wonderful. Because that's not honest. That's not true. That's not real. I'm not going to go and watch this movie and then wear the dashiki like I'm from Africa, like I go to Africa every year. I've even been to Uganda, but I'm not that into Africa, so I didn't want to be fake, and neither did I want to act like I was supporting something I truly wasn't. But then I finally actually sat down and watched the movie. Number one response, Lion King. That whole movie was just Lion King. Like, Black Panther was Lion King. You can't sit here and act like it wasn't. There's so many similarities to Lion King, it's ridiculous. You know, and there might be some similarities as what in African culture that Lion King took from that they then were able to incorporate into Black Panther. That's something that's symbolic and important to recognize. But, you know, that was my first reaction. It's like, oh, it's Lion King. I love Lion King, so I can love this movie. But when I really sat down and watched it, I was engulfed in the depth of it. I was engulfed in the storytelling. I was engulfed in the character building. Like, all of these bits and pieces that took place throughout the entire movie, masterpiece. There's not much, if anything, when watching Black Panther, you can sit and say, I didn't really like that part, but that part was good. No, the movie was amazing. And one of MCU's best movies. So with that being said, some things to talk about when it comes to Black Panther is Black Panther, the hero, was a young man born, of course, into Wakanda, and being the next to take up the mantle of Black Panther, he went around the world. They paid for him to go to the best schools, to get the best education. They paid for him to train with the best martial artists, almost like a Bruce Wayne background Batman story with parents versus without parents. But so they paid for him to go to all these schools and get this education to become strong and understand actually, because they don't harp on this in the movie, which, if I were to say, I guess that is a slight drawback. But he had an understanding of the technology of his homeland. He was actually more hands-on when it came to developing these things and working on different types of systems, and he really truly had his hands in the technological aspect and using vibranium. He was a really smart person. Even more so, he's acknowledged as, I believe he's in top 10 of Marvel's smartest characters in the entire universe. So he is much more intelligent than they portray in the MCU. I know a lot of people that are like, well, they didn't have time to really harp on that when they had other things like its actual great story to focus on, so I can understand that. But that is a factor to keep in mind. That one thing they do great when they create a black hero for comic books and other series, especially when they do it right, they know how to balance the athleticism that, of course, a lot of black people are recognized for, but also bringing that balance of intellect. They don't, limit that portion of it. So that's something that you want to keep in mind as well when you're looking at this. But another thing to that as well, like I said, is that story. It's that story. So, in segueing into from Black Panther to Chadwick Boseman. Chadwick Boseman, I did not know he was as into some of the works that he was doing as he was. There was a movie called 42 where he played as a famous baseball player. I believe it was Babe Ruth.
No, God! No, God, please, no!
I'm wrong. Please forgive me. Like I said, I was not on track with Chadwick Boseman's actual lineage and work, but I did highly respected him, and I always wanted to actually sit down and watch him, which is one of my other regrets. So he did Get On Up, which was James Brown movie. He played that role. He, of course, did Black Panther, which is a great role that he played. He did 21 Bridges just last year. I was even caught up wanting to watch that. I was like, ooh, that's on my list of movies to watch. And then he just did The Five Bloods, which is one of his more recent movies, a movie that came out this year. Even when I saw the picture on Instagram where he was looking very sickly, and looking really skinny, and people are like, hey, please pray for him. I was concerned and I was praying for him. I was like, I hope everything's okay. I didn't know what could have been the case, but then I saw a picture of him in The Five Bloods, and I was like, oh, he must have been losing weight for the role. So that's where my mind went. I had no way of piecing together that that's what was actually happening, which is what we found out yesterday, that he was dealing with colon cancer. And it shook me to my core that he went about, performing, making these movies, acting in these roles, keeping that in his family that he was dealing with this without trying to publicize it, sympathy performances, trying to build up the gross sales of his movies by doing that. But instead, he just did his work. He fulfilled that work. I just recently heard of how when Corona hit, he donated about, I think it was $4 million or $4 billion to black community hospitals in support of making sure they had what they needed. So he moved with purpose no matter what. And that's something that I can say in response to, him being that guy. Like when you watch him in movies, you're just like, there's something different about him. He's not your normal black actor. When you look at him, it's like looking at someone that's like, we're not calling for a black guy to play this role. We're calling for Chadwick Boseman to play this role. You could see that in the way that he plays his roles. He was the right one for the job. And that's what I think is so impactful about him. And another thing that I realized, tying this into Black Panther, when you actually see the movie, you see the movie hit on something that's so key. When we want to say, hey, I want to help the black community, right? It's not, we need to separate ourselves from those that are looking to do damage to us and only focus on those that are wanting to enhance us. But instead, where we have succeeded, using what we have that we've succeeded with to go and assist with our brothers and sisters, to build them up where they are. Even more so, if you remember from the end of Black Panther, how he was talking to that kid and they were talking about what they wanted to do in that community. He wasn't saying, well, let's take all these people back to Wakanda. He was saying, we're going to make them successful where they are. And that was so deep. That was such a huge message for everything that went on in that movie. I saw this on TikTok, right? There's two things. I saw this one thing on TikTok. I don't remember the young man's name, so I don't want to take the credit from him. If I find him, I'm going to actually put him in the comment. So if you remember from the beginning of Black Panther, where T Chala's father was meeting with his brother, who they found out was doing some scheming work that was going against Wakanda's rules and things. the father, of course, killed his brother, and then the boy on the basketball court, in that moment was playing basketball at night. He had saw the ship turn invisible, and he had saw something in the sky, but just wasn't sure what it was, and that was their ship returning back to Wakanda, and in that same night, of course, discovering his father dead. So they did something great with the movie from beginning to end. They took that scene where it was, of course, as you can see, nighttime, bad things happen at night. His father died in this moment. This boy's being exposed to the darker side of life. And of course, that's what leads to the life of Killmonger going forward, as we see. And then they flip that at the end with that little boy being on the basketball court in the daytime, with T'Challa being out there on the court in their presence. And even more so, another thing, instead of the ship being invisible in the nighttime, it was visible in the daytime for the people in that community to see them there. And they're, of course, talking about how they're going to expand versus keeping everything enclosed within Wakanda. And that's such symbolism. That's such powerful message. And to see Chadwick Boseman play that role, he wasn't trying, like I said, he's not trying to sit here and just, speak about this war that the black community is going to wage against its enemies. It's not that type of message. It's how are we going to advance and succeed. Wakanda was able to do it. They're able to do it. Let's show them how. That's such a deep and powerful message, and it blessed my heart. But I realized, thinking about this, that Chadwick Boseman is wise in his role selection. Get on up, 42, even Black Panther, the Five Bloods. These movies are touching on and speaking to some historical moments that lead to what we have today, that speak to some of the things that we see now today, the impact of the roles of what he played in today's future. That's what's so powerful about, even again, Chadwick Boseman's performances and his selection of the roles that he plays. He was wise with it, he was skillful with it, and I can't help but give him respect that he deserves for that. I am going to take the time to actually watch his movies. I'm not going to do that for, pushing here on YouTube or any other social media platform, but I am going to watch them because, like I said, I respect him as a performer. So again, even more so seeing his faith, that's the last thing I want to leave us with. Seeing that the man had faith in God. That's a true speaking. That's a true movement there. He goes from being from South Carolina, as a matter of fact, Anderson, South Carolina, to going to Howard University and studying in, performing arts and learning that craft and mastering that craft, going in and then becoming the performer that he was, bringing about magnificent movies, it seems. He lived with purpose. It may break our hearts that we won't have him in Black Panther 2, not like how we want him. It may hurt us that we won't have any future movies from him, but we can't say that this man didn't live with purpose and made a mark like he did. He made his mark, he lived with purpose, and to God be the glory that we were blessed with him. To God be the glory that we were blessed with him. And that's all I have to say here, guys, with the passing of Chadwick Boseman, the passing of Black Panther. I praise God for him, and even more so, I give glory to God for bringing him home. Hey, thank you guys for listening in. I hope you all enjoyed, and thank you for joining me here on Christ and Comic Books. Peace.